You can go forever.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Sorry we're late.
It's been a little bit of a struggle tonight, so
It's been a struggle bus for about a week.
been off work and done a lot of projects around the house, and have a baby goat in the house that actually we were trying to get fed right before. I don't know where she went off to though. She is so tiny we literally lose her throughout the day.
Last night she spent a good portion of her night in her room, and there's like this much room between the floor and the top of my nightstand, and she got underneath of it, and that's where she slept. So for a good portion of the night till I woke her up for a bottle, which was kind of nice. She lets me sleep, probably better than a newborn does.
So we got Ren's Homestead. Hello.
Hey guys.
Missouri Outlaw.
Wow.
Randy. Margie. Hello. Fairview. Haas. Nightfall.
How's it sleeping with a goat going for it was rough that night.
Yeah. Nightfall said, I bet Mark secretly loves it too.
He does.
I didn't mind it.
He secretly does.
Yeah, as you can tell, if you follow our Facebook feeds, I was taking pictures, a lot of pictures. So
yeah, more so because I was just too exhausted to kind of do it. I was anything more than what I was doing. It has been like a very, very crazy week. I mean, kidding started off really, really easy and good. And then Tiana kind of scared us. We had one present head first. It was past half an hour between the kids. And usually, anybody that's kidded out goats before, like 15 minutes, like usually you've got something happening. But it can take anywhere for up to an hour. But for me, it's a half hour. And I'm probably going to glove up and go in. And Tiana had one that was presented head first. You guys won't see me pull that kid. I was videoing, and about halfway through it, I told my daughter, I'm like, turn it off, because like I was starting to get really stressed. And then in that situation, I was just like, nope, I don't want to worry about what's being filmed. Like I want to focus on what I'm doing. So she came out head first though, and she weighed 1.95 pounds. Yeah, and this one is smaller. This one was even smaller.
2 days after is only weighing 1.9 pounds. So she's basically the size of like a kitten.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Very, very tiny. Super tiny.
Fairview said it's raining in Indiana tonight with high winds moving in. That would be when my goats go.
I've got 3.
Yeah,
now.
We won't have a really long live tonight because there's one that's laying down and
I walked
quite
in,
pushing yet, but
and she's like, she's got the kickstand, but her ligaments are still there, and there's no goo. And I was like, why don't you come to the fence? Come here. And she's like, you can tell she's like, no. So, but we took bets. We've got 3 that are all looking like they're going to go like probably right on top of one another. So Joe picked Mossy. I picked Sunny. And so Mark was stuck with Sky. So we're going to see who's going to win the bet to see which one. Or, Pinky could be a dark horse. She could come out of nowhere and kid ahead of time too. I don't need any more early kiddings though. Like I'm at my limit with early kiddings. So
Patty said she was watching live streams of the fires in the Smoky Mountains. Brings back nightmares from what we went through here in Oregon
a couple years
back. And so prayers to those down south because there's severe weather down there from what we were seeing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You see, like you've got wildfires already breaking out in specific areas, and then you've got it's tornado season, and we've had some pretty crazy storms where it was like, okay, we are listening for sirens.
Said you need to work harder.
I know. I'm telling you, I need more caffeine. Is what I need. I need more caffeine.
Got Crazy Life, Betty Randall.
Hello.
Sorry if we missed anybody, but try to catch up here. Nightfall said this is Jacob and Iowa, by the way.
I was going to ask.
I always forget to switch back to my personal profile. No worries, Jacob.
Yeah, she was very tiny, Jacob, like super tiny.
Yeah.
His mom was like, are you guys breeding mice?
Grab her.
Yeah. She's probably with Django.
Yeah.
She's
right here.
She's right there. Django has decided, which Django, for any of you that don't know, because he's not on screen very often, Django is our miniature Australian Shepherd, and he's wet nurse right now, or she thinks he's wet nurse, but he's not cool with that.
So here she is.
Yeah,
she's
little.
Table, so she can almost hide under my beard. So.
Yeah, which she loves.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
So this is the little star of the show. So this is what's been keeping us busy the last couple nights.
Keeping us very.
But she's
very
out of
busy.
one of our does we got from Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. So she's out of like a spotlight sale buck. So the dam is out of Brainstorm from Old Mountain Farms, which was a spotlight buck from a few years ago. Which for anybody that's not familiar with that, the ADGA has a convention every year, and certain breeders are nominated to put up an animal for auction for the proceeds to go to the ADGA. And Old Mountain Farm was nominated, and Brainstorm, I think it's Brainstorm, was it Brainiac? I think it's Brainstorm, was the one that was the spotlight sale that year, and that is her sire. So those are really good bloodlines. So when this kind of happened, I was like, I want a doe out of her so bad. I would have tried if the other two had been responsive, but they.
If you can't tell, she's used to Ashley's voice, so every time Ashley
she's
talks,
always looking at me.
Looking at her. She follows Ashley around through the house.
Which is nice. The whole getting up in the middle of the night to feed kind of
put her down,
sucks.
let her run around.
I really prefer to let my girls raise their babies, but this is she was premature. Her teeth weren't even erupted. She was 6 days early.
We tried to put her out one day, and it was in like the mid 40s, and she still couldn't keep her body temperature.
Like a full belly. Mommy still wanted her at that point. Mommy still was cleaning her and letting her nurse. And even under like a low heat lamp and bedded up straw with a full belly, she could not regulate. So we brought her in. So she will stay in with us.
Hussey's back in. Screen went black while driving. Where's that new super chat button?
I don't know. I think I've enabled. I don't know.
Still learning.
It's funny because like the monetization happened, and then all of a sudden like kidding happened. So I've been trying to edit.
Yeah.
And I can't because it's just been so incredibly busy.
Yeah.
But
Nightfall said, "Oops, so glad I'm done with kidding. It sucks early kid in Iowa.
Yeah.
But glad all the stress is over." Yeah, that's a big sigh of relief. That's kind of
where I'm at. Like you get really excited like for it to start, but then when it does start, especially when you have like those scares pretty early on, you're like, "Oh, for the love of goodness, please don't let this be like a sign for how the rest
Crazy
is
Life
be.
said having high winds and currently in Tennessee. I think you guys have some of that severe weather, like tornado warnings and stuff. So be careful down there.
Trying to keep track of where she's. Oh, she's right by your foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt her.
She stays underneath her feet all day.
Patty said, a friend who does YouTube was right near the wire line a day ago. She has an herb farm, so was very worried. Ooh.
That's so awful. Oh my gosh.
I said YouTube. I don't think it was YT.
Yeah. She does YouTube. Yeah.
Okay.
She does YouTube. She's saying she's like right on the line of those fires, and she has an herb farm, which is terrible because that's her livelihood on top of like losing, the damage to property.
Really susceptible to it.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That's so
Keep
awful.
her in her prayers. Margie said, so adorable, so cute. Bunch of comments on.
I'm her mama.
Yeah, I think she's worth the effort. She's definitely a cutie.
She's definitely one I didn't think was going to pull through.
She's bumping your leg right now.
She's already been fed. She's good for right now.
She's to the point now where she likes to play with the bottle too.
I didn't think that I would be having one of these.
Yeah.
I haven't had a bottle baby in years. Like I really haven't. So this is hard. I really like to sleep, and she's so good. So she's really good at night. I'm talking about her like she's a child, but she does sleep really well at night. The first night I was scared to death. She slept like in the bed with me, like curled up, like because I was just scared. I'm like, I can't let her be on the ground. I was just worried to death that she was going to die in the nighttime, but she pulled through. We're hoping now.
Yeah, we honestly were struggling to get her in and get her up to the warmed up and back into normal body temperature because Ashley had to bring her in the house.
She wasn't even reading.
Yeah.
Well,
she was basically
her eyes were glassed. The only thing that she did that made me think that I could try was she just took in like a little gas. I'm like, that's my sign. Yep. That's what we're doing. We're going to go for it. And took her into the barn to get her out of it. It wasn't even that cold that day. Like it was chilly. It was a little bit windy, but it was sunny. And she didn't show me any signs that she was going into labor. I was actually going to move her in that evening to a kidding pen, but I really don't think it would have mattered. I think she just went early because her teeth weren't erupted and we got a blow dryer on her and it was one of those, like, you just have to keep,
I was outside and Ashley just yelled, "Oh my God," and yelled my name.
Yeah.
And then just took off in the field. And I figured I might have an idea what happened, but yeah, it was
one of those like moments where your heart just drops. Cause it's just like, this is one of those does that like I really wanted to get every kid out of. I want every kid out of all of my does. Like, don't get me wrong, but in herds, especially if you're breeding for performance or production,
you have those
ones where you're like, these bloodlines like have the potential to do well. So of course it was her.
It's Darren. Hello,
Hi,
Darren and Emma. Hola.
Oh my goodness.
Some old friends joining. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. But what we were talking about, Darren and Emma, was our little bottle baby,
Yeah.
Miss Lazarus. I'm not sure what her paper name will be, Lazarus, but she is.
Darren,
her bar name
if
is
this
Sweets.
doesn't make Brigitte want a little baby, then I don't know what will.
Yeah, she's
She's
pretty
not camera
amazing.
shy.
She's like, you're making me
She's a
stand on
little
my back
spunky
feet,
thing
Dad.
though. So Brigitte needs a couple of these, Darren.
Okay.
She wants mama.
Yeah.
Jacob said
Don't
we had our
touch
fill of tornadoes this year. Stay away. Yeah, a lot of areas have had trouble with bad storms. So hopefully it isn't the case with this big old cell going through. Crazy Life said watching the weather and listening for sirens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is the worst.
Yeah.
To have to feel like you got to listen. Hi, you had your bottle, baby.
Ha said, do they make the heating version of a silver bullet? That'd be great to get temp up from the inside out.
Yeah. Probably not. I would say probably not.
Yeah. The Walmart grocery bags and a sink full of hot water work good enough.
So so we did the old water bath method, which she was just in a dollar store bag and just some really hot water and just submerged her and held her there until she started kicking her feet. I was like, okay, we're coming out of it.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of molasses on the gums. But
Crazy
she wasn't
Life
even
said
registering.
she peeps. Yeah.
She peeps.
She definitely does.
She
You're right on
squeaks.
track because Ashley calls her squeaks for that reason. So, like we said, she's pretty underdeveloped.
Yeah.
So I think
She's
honestly, her prior vocal cords aren't even well developed because she just makes little squeaks. I mean, she's 3 days old and she's made big strides since.
Yeah, she started getting her hoppy sticks today. So she was doing like her little kicks and running. I was like, that's so good. You feel well enough to be that way.
Yeah.
And she took her first visit to the barn because it did get to about 70 degrees today.
Yeah.
So I want her to learn to be a goat. She's in here until she can regulate body temperature and go a while without feeding. But oh, you pee-peed. That's good.
We'll clean it up.
Clean it up in a minute. I'm just like,
Hate to watch it on our floor. Darren said Brigitte is freaking out right now. Can you ship goats USPS?
They have transporters, but I
no, we'll just come up for a visit. We'll bring them with
here.
us.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. We'll go up there.
Yeah, she's gonna be a special little girl.
Emma said she wants her. Emma, we need to take you up on an offer to come and do some goat chores with us. And then your job can be to play with all the baby goats. I'm sure you'll love that.
Yeah, because we actually started milking. I actually did my first milk test this last weekend. Which was crazy. I honestly think that's why I missed her birth, was because I was in the middle of a milk test. I only had 2 does, but because they're screaming because they want their babies that have been taken away for 24 hours, I think that masks whatever birth noises were coming. Because usually I'm really good out there at hearing. They have the certain vocalizations, all livestock do, when it's a mom getting ready to go into labor. And I didn't hear that, and I think it's because those ladies were not happy at being separated, but got my milk test done.
Yeah.
And we saved her.
So
yeah, that was awful.
So crazy. But she's doing good. Her brother's doing good. So.
Yeah, her brother's a monster.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger.
He's a monster, but like his ears are still droopy and he's kind of still in that lazy phase too. His teeth weren't erupted either because I checked. I'm like, so we were all premature, even though you're a monster. So
which a lot of things can cause that, like you were saying, like a goat butting.
Someone may have just butted her. I mean, really, that could have caused her to go into premature labor.
So
yeah,
because she was definitely not due when she went. Yeah, she's probably a week out.
So we've actually had 4 does kid out, 2 with difficulty, 2 fine, and now we've got 3 that all seem like they're probably going to go into labor tonight. So I'm assuming I'm not going to get sleep again tonight. And I've got Pinky, and then I've got a little bit of a break. I think until like the 2nd week of April. I just got to get through this week.
Yep.
But we have started milking too, so that's good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good about food security to know that like because we went out to dinner tonight. I had to, which is why we're late. We were getting the kiddos some cleats for softball because that's getting ready to start again, and she grew out of her old. I mean, what is up with these kids growing out of their it costed us more money. But we had to go get her new cleats, and we went out to eat, and we were just shocked, like how much we paid for the food. It was pretty apparent that the prices had gone up substantially.
Yeah.
So the fact that now that we have goats that are in milk, that the chickens are producing eggs like crazy, so are the ducks. The ducks are setting eggs. We have new chicks that were just hatched out. We have a goat that we're getting ready to butcher. I have 3 roosters that I'm done dealing with. I'm getting ready to put them in pots. So there's just a lot of things happening here for food security. We're getting ready to get the garden up and going. So
yeah,
not that it's just one of those things you just start to see the prices climb on specific things, and it really does make you take like a second look at it.
So the one place we like to go is Chili's nearby, and we go there quite frequently. We're used to, not as much lately, but like they even had a sign up, which I hadn't seen before, was some menu items may not be available due to food shortages. And then like their staff is very minimal. Like wouldn't doubt if the restaurant was only like a third full.
Yeah.
And there was a wait because they didn't have enough staff. So it's definitely eye opening. I mean, you're seeing it across all fronts.
And then when the bill came, I was like, "Oh my God, we paid that much for this!" So it was
normally pay. So
everything's a lot more at home. Are any of you guys seeing that, like in your areas, like where you've eaten out or gone to the grocery store? I know we all see it in gas, and we've talked about it several times, but we're just starting to see it on
even
other things
a post that popped up on Facebook for hay, and it was actually at a pretty decent price. And even though we're well stocked, we're thinking about just buying a bunch to have on hand.
Yeah.
Because either we could resell it, as costs go up, or
keep it so that we're not spending $8 a bale if it comes down to it here, because it really could. So I know we've been talking about using tree hay and supplementing fodders, but it's impacting who I think I'm going to keep in milk. I mean, honestly, even with like the milk testing, and I know like I go on and on about goats, but what in our milk test this last week, it really does go to show like breeding for production, even on a homestead. It's not so much always just for like performance or for show animals, but on my milk test, Willow milked out around 5.5 pounds of milk in a day's period. For a Nigerian dwarf, that's pretty good at 11 days of lactation.
Yep.
Tiana is only 4 days behind her, didn't even give me 1.5 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
They're about the same age. They receive the same care. They get the same amount of feed. They're in the same health. And you've just got one that produces and one that doesn't. So like with feed costs going up and there being shortages and things like that, it really does make me look at her and it's like, well, I'm putting the same amount of feed into you where you're giving me 1.5 pounds. And this over here is getting the same amount of feed, and she's giving me darn near 5.5, almost 6 pounds. So it's helping me to kind of realize who gets to stay this year. And that sucks because like some of these girls are like the first Nigerians I started out with, but
also that's a part of the cycle because now we're having so many hit the ground and we just can't keep everyone, of course.
And we're breeding for improvement. So we're looking at the dam. We're saying we like this, this, and this. This is where she needs improvement. Our breeding program is moving us towards breeding the strong traits over their weak traits.
Yeah.
So that we in turn get an improvement in the next year. And that's really what you're looking for when you're breeding any type of livestock, is to see an improvement from the dam and the sire. That doesn't mean it's always going to. You could have two phenomenal animals and genetically the language just does not mesh and they're not going to produce a phenomenal offspring. It's a genetic dice, but we're rolling it and hoping for improvements because some of these girls, I'm sure by the end of it, I will see that they get to go to pet homes or backyard milkers. Whereas like here, I'm like, I need you for a purpose. And I really want to start supplying people with milk and products like that. I'm trying to go through Indiana's homesteading and home-based vendor regulations and figure out what I can do, because I feel like with food shortages, it almost does fall on us as homesteaders. Now, it won't mean that we won't produce specifically to feed ourselves, but I would love to be able to produce enough where I can help somebody, that if the food shortages are impacting them, and let's say that, a lot of these pantries that give out food and goods to the less fortunate, they could get hit hard where they can't even give it out to the less fortunate anymore because there's just not enough to go around. Yeah. I want to be able to pick up the slack. If I can. It's always feed yourself first, but there's something about that I feel I am being called to do that. I mean, we've talked about different ministries and stuff, but I've been talking to Mark a lot more. I'm like, I put a lot into the farm. We put a lot of time and effort, and good Lord, I know we prayed over that silly little girl. She's not silly. She's definitely worth it, but I want to take that and give it to someone. Have a little bit of a prayer chain going. It's like, I know it's dumb, but please, it's not dumb to me. Please pray for this silly little goat.
Crazy Life said, since I can't have a garden yet, I've been buying more from the store to preserve, freeze, and can. Yeah, that's definitely something we need to really get down and do this year is canning.
Yeah.
Because
I've got my canners lined up. I just need to pull the trigger. And I mean, I'm starting. It sounds so terrible. It makes me sound like such a bad homesteader. But like a lot of the times when we're done with like our chicken carcasses, we just feed those off to like the chickens, or we recompost the bones. And really, like I could be making broth, and I could be making stock out of all of that. And I've just never done it. But first, it's just that pressure, where it's like we might not be able to just go to the store and get this. So it's really starting to push us to look at abundance and try to can.
If I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure in like one of the recent like state addresses that Joe Biden had, he did say that there was going to be food shortages coming up. So like one of his recent conferences. So it's something that you really just have to focus on now. I mean, it's bad now. If he's saying it's going to be food shortages go forward, they're probably going to be worse. So.
Well, I feel like we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg for inflation, and it's only going to get. It's just such a trickle down effect from just little things. Yeah.
I was trying to think, like trying to put together words are hard right now.
Yeah,
especially so we're lacking sleep from the goat
and
watches.
It doesn't look like we're going to get a break from that anytime soon. But that's where we're at right now.
I quit energy drinks and now I've started back.
Well, it figures because this week I really need caffeine, and my Kickstart, my energy drink, my caffeine of choice, I cannot find it anywhere. It's a shortage. It's part of the shortage. I feel that because I'm like, I really need caffeine this week, and I haven't been able to get it. So maybe this is just a good way to wean me off of it and not need it anymore.
Fairview said, definitely noticed that at our favorite restaurant, we always have leftovers. Not this time. They definitely cut portions.
Yeah.
And not only portions, like
just the quality.
The chicken we had tonight was a little more chewy than usual.
Yeah.
And there was someone I talked to at work that have friends that run a restaurant. They're known for their chicken wings, and they're it's like potato slices or potato wedges.
Yeah.
And they said they've noticed that they're getting more chicken deliveries, and there's like remnants in the bottom, basically to add to the weight, so they get their weight without as much quantity in the bags. And then on top of that, the cuts aren't as good, and then they're having trouble getting potato wedges, which they're known for. So they're struggling.
Like at the restaurant level,
really
they're paying the same amount for less food and trying to glean a profit. And it's like nobody wins in that cycle. Nobody wins in that cycle. So it just kind of, but it was eye-opening tonight to go and look, and I'm like, oh, it's starting. Like this is it. My cat was off-centered, and that drove me nuts for a second.
Crazy Life said you can dehydrate the bones and use your food processor to make bone meal for the garden.
I've read about that, so I'm glad. Have you tried that, Crazy Life? Because I've read on that, and I've really thinking about it.
This year we've also been adamant about keeping scraps and stuff and throwing them back in the garden.
Yeah.
And especially with our new garden boxes.
Yeah. And I mean, even this sounds really
culture, everything.
Yeah.
Across the board,
we've really been trying to figure out a good way to kind of keep things like where they're sustainable, which should be the overall goal and process for any homestead from the very get-go. But it's just as times get leaner, you try to become leaner too, like across the board. And we definitely have. I went to go get sunflower seeds because I like to supplement black oil sunflower seeds to my dairy goats. And about a month ago, I was paying $18.99. I went to Tractor Supply to get them $27.99.
Yeah,
I had to pass. I'm like, I can't sustain that. But then in part, like that interrupts the diet for these dairy goats, which will in turn interrupt the production for me. So it's like, it just sucks.
I said, Rowdy is my new favorite energy drink. Caffeine from green tea.
Ooh.
Half the caffeine of Monster and Bang, and you wouldn't know it.
It's
not
tasty.
Jitters or come down and tasty.
Ooh, tasty is the important part for me.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've seen that here, so we'll have to keep an eye out.
I haven't either. We'll look for that.
Yeah. What flavors do they have? Do they have like a white? I love the ones that have a bunch of different flavors because I'll just pick up different ones.
Well, Mark picked up one. It was called C4 for me the other day because it was Skittles flavor.
Yeah, didn't taste.
I love Skittles. It didn't taste as good. It had that weird because there's artificial flavoring and sweeteners in it. So
them, but
and it's funny because like today I was listening to Freedom Homestead has a book club, and they had Anna from the Fermented Homestead and Julie from Row & Co. And they've been talking about, I can't remember what the book is that they're reading. It's a Joel Salatin book, I think. It's like Beyond the Label, but they've been talking a lot about food impact and like how, it talks a lot about the nutrition and how we as Americans tend to eat. And it's been very eye-opening for me to be a part of those lives. So I would recommend that to anybody that wants to go and listen to others talk about, like the artificial sweeteners, fake meat, things like that.
Beyond labels, a doctor and a farmer conquer food confusion one bite at a time. It's written by Sina McCullough and Joel Salatin.
And it's been really nice to listen to. But you did? How dare you?
I like watching it.
But yeah, so Emma said, sorry, was finishing dinner full belly now. That's awesome.
What did you have? And I'm sure it was better than our chilies.
Yes, and probably less expensive too, I'm sure.
Carpenter Self-Reliance said we need to grow our own food. Yeah.
But it's kind of amazing though, like how many people do not have that knowledge. And then all of a sudden there's a big flood. Again, after, I thought we'd saw a big flood when the pandemic hit and people were buying chicks and
people are quickly going back to old ways. And
well, they felt
that's
like
part of a habit or comfortable.
Yeah.
I can understand why, but that should have been eye-opening in a way that. And one good thing I'm starting to see, and actually Ashley got invited to be part of, is like little community gardens. Like I'm starting to see them pop up. 4-H. Actually, ours is through our 4-H club, and I think there's a couple other 4-H clubs in the area trying to do it to grow food, just to set up little garden areas.
It's just kind of funny because you start to see like little things in the community happen like that. And for this, it's a community garden, and it's that community is agricultural based. So that goes to show, like, even in an agricultural based community, there's still people that do not have access to gardens. Maybe they can't drum up their own materials to do it, but then there's a community garden where people can learn to come to become self-sufficient and to hone in on gardening and to come together as a community. Because really, when times get tough like that, even when you're talking to preppers or people that are like bug out, we watch like a lot of preparedness, and a lot of people say like, it's not going to be like your bug out vehicle, and it's not going to be what's in your bug out bag. They're like, it's going to be who is in your community, and I feel like community gardens are a wonderful thing because it really does get people to know who's in their community and what kind of skill sets they have. And it just kind of gets them to come together to co-op a little bit for a really important skill that just is very much overlooked.
Crazy Life said, does it have a homestead roof to have chickens and gardens, etc.?
Not yet. Still, are we still looking? How's your husband doing? He doing any better?
That's right. He was in.
He hurt his leg, right?
Yeah. So hopefully he's doing better.
Haas, no, but that is we want a wood burning stove. Yeah,
because we're actually fully reliant on electric right now. We don't have any propane or gas in the house, so if things happened and the electric grid went down, or even just electric outage for a week,
it would be difficult.
Everything
it would be very
around
difficult.
us would be shut down. So
we'd be fine in the summertime. But outside of that, not so much.
I don't know about summertime. I have to have my cool air to sleep. So
I do too. I remember we had this one weekend fair where our AC quit working.
Oh God!
The entire week it was like 100 degrees.
Ashley literally came home one day after the fair, broke down, and said, "I can't do this."
I know. I was in tears. I'm like,
I had to buy another AC unit for another window. I had one that was cooling up. Our house isn't big, obviously, but like it was cooling a good portion of it. But
it was awful. It was so bad. We'd been at the fair like for 10 hours helping kids and wrestling animals, and we came home and I'm like, it is so hot in our house. I can't do this.
Emma said, "Girl, I love hugelkultur." She just had a video.
You did have a really good video. I really enjoyed that.
I think there's so many benefits.
Emma, feel free to drop your link in the chat.
Yeah.
Because Emma's been doing hugelkultur, so we're going to be new to hugelkultur, but she's been doing it for a few years, and she did have a video that showed what her soil looked like after 5 years of hugelkultur, and it was really eye-opening. And she said humus a lot.
I didn't watch it yet.
And I love the word humus.
Yes. Ashley brought in her phone. She's like, "Look at this soil after." So we're excited to see.
We're really excited.
Crazy Life said, "I'll be trying it when I find a roof over my head." Yep, definitely.
That'll happen sooner than you think, though. I hope.
For sure.
It'll be worth it. I feel like there's something big waiting for you.
Yeah. Emma said, "Yes, I'm growing sunflowers this year too. Lots and lots of them."
That's why I'd wondered. I'm like, well, I usually kind of let nature have it and
quite
feed it to the goats.
Ashley enjoys it too because there's quite a few birds in the area come and pick off of them too. So you'll get some most like natural bird feeders.
You get surprise sunflowers all around
Patty
your property.
remembered it too. Beyond the labels. Thank you, Patty. Yep, that's it. Have you been watching some of those lives, Patty? Because they're really good. We've gotten our enjoyment watching them, and actually learned a lot from them.
Even
So,
Anna from the Fermented Homestead
she's
has a
amazing.
really
She has a
amazing
lot of-
like health journey story. What for her? Like when she was talking and she's like, "Yeah, that's how I got to 300 pounds." And I was like, I would never have pegged you for ever being that, like being overweight in that manner, you know?
Because she's so healthy now. Like it's a drastic change.
But I think she's like, I just got to a point where I felt so terrible and I felt so awful about myself.
To see someone that makes a life change.
Yeah, like she went and she did all of her research
awesome.
and she moved towards it. And
it's a major commitment. It's Bruce. Hello, Bruce. Hey guys.
What's up, buddy? How are you doing?
How's your bees doing? Hopefully good as weather warms up.
Are you guys is swarming starting there yet? I saw one in Indiana, like on the Indiana beekeeping Facebook forum site, whatever page.
Bruce got a question for you. So I was at my sister's house and they had a swarm, but it was just a small cluster of bees, but it was on their chicken feeder and going through the lay mesh on their chicken feeder. And I don't know.
Were they going after pollen that might have been in that from like the
I'm
process
just wondering what would have caused that. Like they were asking, I'm like,
corn.
I don't know. I mean, it's feed, so
yeah.
I wonder what they're trying to pull out of it, like a nutrient or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were all over that. I really didn't know why.
We'd be interested because I know you know more. Because I was like maybe pollen or something, or so they're trying to get some type of sugar that might be present in the feed. I don't know.
Oh, Emma posted the book in there.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, we've been meaning to get a copy. We just haven't yet. Patty said this was going on 20 years ago with clean eating. It was a religion I couldn't afford to buy into, and was put down about. Sadly true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
They were talking about that a little bit today too, like how, and I know it's going to come off like for like people that think it's conspiracy theory, but like really it's what whoever has bought into like these different stocks for like, you know, stevia or all of these different types of artificial sweeteners. And I'm like, well, of course, if they've got stock in it, they're going to, you know, you follow the money to see how things get approved to be in there. And they were talking about glufosinate and things like that, and like how it's so much cheaper to eat like garbage. Like it is cheaper to eat garbage, and people will, if you tell them the garbage is healthier, they won't do their own research and they'll think it's healthier for, you know, they just won't do it. It's not in our nature to do our own research most of the time. But they were talking a lot about that. Have you been following that, Patty? Because I think you would really enjoy it.
Little stand over here.
Oh,
you all right?
Were you
Another quick guest.
She's I don't want to be on.
She got stuck in a little sign stand we have over there.
Yeah. Will you stack, please?
Carpenter's Self-Reliance said, I'm trying to focus my channel this spring and summer to help folks grow and preserve food. Yeah, that's definitely a major.
It is a big thing.
I
mean, and I know a lot of people go to YouTube for a lot of their resources, you know.
And I think it's good to share that knowledge to help people too. We actually just had someone reach out and was looking to actually start their own homestead. It was a coworker I had.
It was
never thought
cool.
They would have. I've known him for years and never thought he'd get into it. But he reached out to me and I was like, yeah, I'd love to help with whatever questions you have. I mean, I'm fully on board with more people coming into the movement or helping them get started. I mean,
but it was kind of funny because he was like us. He's like, well, it's in the middle of it was an old farm with old, you know, cornfields and stuff. And we were like, make sure you look at your soil. If you can have it tested, it'd be great to test it. And he's like, well, it's been a farm. I'm like, that doesn't mean that the soil is good. I'm like, just because it's old farmland. We thought that too when we first started, and just the way that dense crops are planted in such small areas, year after year after year after year, with very little being given back naturally to the soil, it strips your soil. We have to do a lot of amending to our soils.
She's trying to get in that sign again.
She likes it. It's a security thing.
I'm guarded in here. Haas said Rowdy is big at Speedway and 7-Eleven. Cherry limeade, strawberry lemonade, peach mango, blue raspberry, bunch of different flavors.
Oh, wow.
Chilled ice. Still with chilled ice is
supposed
to taste like, but it's yummy.
Ooh, that
chilled ice sort of reminds me of. I tried Liquid Death the other day. It's water. It's funny. It's actually really good though. It's like extra purified water. It tastes good. But it's funny because the can looks crazy.
Like with the little kids, like it looks like they're just crushing like not good drinks for little kids. But it's just
then there's like a pregnant woman at the end drinking it like
Liquid Death. Yeah. But it's death to plastic because I think their whole scheme there.
Darren's back. He said, put the tractor away and close everything up.
I know.
Don't lie. You had to hide from the camera because we had the baby goat on there.
It's okay. We know.
Brigitte pressure.
We know.
Yeah.
We'll have to do the same thing in about 15 to 20 minutes because we actually had the coyote visit again this morning.
Yeah.
Just
It's been crazy. Haas said, I asked about stoves because home biogas.
oh, it jumped. We've lost you, Haas. Hang in there.
I know.
We're gonna go find it.
There he is.
There he is.
Home biogas is a great way to compost and collect gas for your stove.
Yeah.
David Outdoors.
David Outdoors
is a big-
74 has a good video on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a big
he was in
channel on
here like a
biogas.
couple weeks ago talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy Life says hubby is in his second go around of physical therapy for a broken
Plateau tibia break. It's hard reading those comments sometimes, especially since they
in
blend in
the
the
fourth
background.
month of recovery. So does he have an ETA like when he should be healed up from that?
Oh, she said crooked man on a crooked stick.
Oh, it's never good. Makes it hard to get things done too. Yep. And I bet it makes him feel, for me, like I've always said, that would be the worst thing is if I like broke up my leg or my arm where I couldn't do what I normally, I would feel so useless. I would feel like I'd lost my reason to live if I couldn't be out in the barn doing the things that I do.
Yeah. Haas said I was going to start her hugelkultur this year, but lumber was too high for beds. So as soon as I find soil, we'll be having molasses tub.
There you go. Yeah. 100%.
I was just going to do a review of the garden beds we built, but you're totally right. Lumber costs are high. And on top of that, like we got the lumber in 2 different trips to the hardware store. And between trips, there was a drastic jump in the price, which was
2 weeks between trips.
So
I will get that video out at some point. I filmed that video.
we
a long
broke
time
it down. Well, I did because I have the receipt and everything of like how much it was down to each screw that we put in.
You guys are still seeing things mostly from like February.
Yeah.
Cannot get down to edit. It's awful.
Patty said, I only began watching the live panel on the book today. I need to go catch up.
Yeah, it's been really interesting.
Like I said, there's several people on there that have really good points. Anna even made me reconsider milk creamer for coffee. Like she's talking about all the artificial stuff and sweeteners and coffee creamers. And I looked in it, I'm like,
yeah, it is. When someone points it out and you go and look, you're like, oh, that is kind of.
Oh, there's
crazy.
Emma's link. So be sure to check it out. What's
Emma,
inside our
in there.
5-year-old hugelkultur raised beds? Yeah,
awesome.
Her soil was very rich.
They love any kind of dust with protein. Well, that would do it. Chicken feed definitely has tons of protein in it.
That makes sense.
Definitely.
Now I can go back and tell them.
now we can tell them. Thank you, Bruce. You're helping us to educate people because we're like,
yeah, like it's a food source, so I'm not sure exactly what they're collecting out, but you mentioned it. That makes sense.
Is she in there, Joe?
Yeah, she scared me so bad.
She followed you around.
You have to watch where you step.
Emma said, we've been making some big changes in our diet because of Matt's recent diagnosis of diabetes, not doing fat diets and just sticking to real food and made from scratch.
Yeah. We've just gonna become so comfortable with the convenience of just, packaged food, stuff that's very, very processed. It's awful. Like really it is. And it's a really hard habit to break, but I feel like it's one of those, once you do break it, you're just like, why would I ever go back? So
we actually had a family member reach out to us for chicken.
Yeah.
And we had a couple chickens from our recent butchering and
she ordered more.
So getting that rolling.
I'm gonna start trying to put my toe out, my toes in the water. I have to get really brushed up with the laws. I know that we've actually in Indiana had another bill passed when it comes to home-based vendors. Yeah. And I feel like they made it easier for us to sell meat from our homes.
Pass constitutional carry.
They did pass constitutional carry.
Yeah.
Mark was waiting for that.
Yeah.
We figured Holcomb wouldn't sign it because if he doesn't sign it, then it gets passed into legislature.
I think in what was that? January. I went and went to a class.
Yeah.
And it was actually led by an attorney, and he's one of the top 2A attorneys, and he resides in Indiana and specializes in Indiana gun law, and took the class for that reason because he went over Indiana gun law, and he was actually a major contributor for that.
Yeah.
He followed it up to the governor and everything. The guy. It's hilarious though, because somebody gets knowledge like that, the class starts becoming all these theoretical questions. Like what happens if I use it in this manner?
But
Eventually, one guy kept saying he was sitting on his porch when this happened, and the guy's like, "Why are you always sitting on a porch and ready to shoot somebody?"
He's like, what if he takes a step towards me? and I say stop, and he does, and he's like, "You really want to shoot this guy, don't you?"
He had a sense of humor, which made it even better. So, but yeah, Ashley's right. They unfortunately are cracking down on some of that as far as like natural foods and people being able to supply from your homestead. It's not.
I get, and I understand
Always
some
clear.
of it, but
Yeah.
there's other things where I'm like, is there a point to this?
Yeah.
Like, why? But I get it. I know I can't always
Yeah.
be a conspiracy theorist
I
to
said,
live in reality a
the
little
double
bit.
take I get from cops and Karens when I drink liquid death while driving. It looks like
That's
it could
why
be
you
something
like
like
it
you
so
should be
much,
drinking while you're
though.
driving, but definitely is. Margie said that's what is best, Emma. Real and homemade food
Yeah,
is
it
best.
is.
Yeah, and
It is.
I mean, now that we're eating more of what we've grown, and actually, like, it's been cooking the chickens we've harvested and the ducks, and you find recipes you like it
Yeah.
definitely is better than
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Good
the food going
venison
out.
recipes.
Yeah, or that's good.
But it's just funny, and I think we've talked about it before, but like when people buy things that are homegrown or organic or just, haven't gone through the whole processing of, being packaged and preserved on a large scale basis, like it throws them off because people are like, the chicken isn't slick. And I'm like, because it's not dipped in preservatives to sit barely below room temperature in a cooler in the grocery store for a week or so. I mean, the amount of effort that it takes to get that animal processed, butchered, packaged into that place, they have to have some type of preservative over it. And that's why it's slick. So I've had people that will eat it and like, why isn't it slick? Like when they're preparing it, like, because doesn't have preservative. It's fresh. This is what it's like when it is fresh. So people just don't get that. Or like the way vegetables look or like how they taste. Someone's like, do I have to like apples? I love going and getting apples like from an orchard because I don't have to worry about the gobs and unnatural wax that's all over those apples to preserve them that's not going into my body because you're getting them straight from the tree, and people don't get there. Like, it feels weird. It feels rough. I'm like, because it's not dipped in the preservative wax that you have to worry about. There's a reason you wash the fruits and vegetables from the store, especially. You should still wash them from your garden because bugs, but there's a different reason you wash them from the stores.
I have those. She's hungry.
Yeah, if you want to.
Haas said we have a rough cut sawmill. Old wood I would have to cut brush to get was even out of my budget. Yeah,
it was
Wasn't
rough.
another homestead that just bought a sawmill?
Yeah, Old Reading.
Yeah.
I haven't got to watch the video yet though. I'm behind. I've been too busy with silly goats.
Yeah, she's been out in the barn a lot.
A lot.
Crazy Life said April 12th, find out more from doctors to see when he can go back to work or if he can ever go back to work.
Oh my gosh.
We'll be keeping you guys in our prayers.
Well, I hope whatever direction that goes, it's in your favor. It's what you guys want, what's going to be best for your family.
Also, again, espresso machine or a mocha pot, espresso milk as God intended. I think I could handle it. Ashley is not a coffee fan. I started doing cold brew.
I do like the cold brew
a lot.
I can do the cold brew,
which helps and which has helped me get away from energy drinks. Which are
although he did bring me coffee Saturday night while we were watching one of our does labor because I'm like, really, you're doing this at 10 o'clock? I'm supposed to be going to bed.
Yeah, she enjoyed the coffee.
Yeah. I did not bulk at the coffee. I'm like, yes, give it to me.
Patty said, honestly, it doesn't take but only minutes to more to make things from scratch. Marketing lies. It lies, I tell you.
Yeah.
It does. It really does. I mean,
does.
Especially now that we've gotten a couple recipes we like. I mean, there's several things Ashley can throw in an Instapot, go out and feed, come back in, and it's ready.
It's ready.
Minimal touch, minimal effort. And honestly, you're using things from scratch. So
yeah, a lot of
I agree,
things
Patty.
that are
It's totally accurate.
Yeah.
Fairview said I was completely surprised Holcomb signed it. Yeah.
We were too. We thought he was just gonna let it slide off of his desk.
I was pushing it. I wasn't talking to him. He was had posted on Facebook. He really thought he would just not sign it and it would go into effect. Because after 7 business days, if he didn't sign it,
the glare from this light.
Oh yeah, it's bad in that window.
I'm sorry, Patty.
But he really thought he wouldn't sign it. He didn't think he'd veto it per se, but he thought he wouldn't sign it, and it'd take 7 days. And if nothing was signed and he didn't perform any action on it, it would automatically go into law. And he really thought that was
that way. If his constituents didn't like it, he could say, "Well, I didn't technically sign it," you know.
But he signed it, so Patty has to glare. it's hard. Like we're actually redoing our kitchen light in the kitchen,
Yeah.
so we may turn this camera back around, and it may help with some of the lighting
We'll
there because
see.
it has a dimmer on it
Yeah.
too. So, Fairview said Duck Goose is a good cookbook.
I will have to look in there because I really like the way the ducks taste.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got one too many drakes right now.
Yeah.
One too many drakes.
And as prolific as they are as
They're already set. I
nesters,
already have. You don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't tell you. There's 2 clutches being. 3 technically. They're being set right now. So
Yeah.
I'm like.
I figured it wouldn't
Lots
take
of
long.
babies.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, we learned quickly that you have to get them out with their babies because the males will attack
Eat the
and
babies.
kill them, basically.
We'll kill them and then eat them, which is really weird because like you have food right here. I don't know why
Yeah.
you want this extra protein.
Emma said the
Pretty terrible.
sliminess on grocery store chicken is gross now.
It is.
It is,
Once
yeah.
you
When you
realize that
handle
that's
it-
not natural, you're just
Yeah.
like, oh.
What is wrong with this? Where is
Yeah.
this coming from? Haas said I'd agree with the apple wax, but then I remembered I shave a block of paraffin was my for my Buckeyes at Christmas. That's different. We can't bring
Yeah.
that into argument.
Yeah, Marky doesn't want to talk about that. I
Buckeyes
don't know what I
are
use in
like
mine. I
my
don't feel like
diehard
I use
favorite
paraffin.
Christmas treat.
Yeah, I don't think my recipe has paraffin in it.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Yeah, I remember we had to go pick it up.
Didn't put it in last year.
Huh.
Did it taste weird?
No, they just
What?
fine.
I'd love to hear
the
your.
chocolate's a little softer. That's the only difference. It still works.
I know. I was like, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Yep. They
Since
taste
you
the
don't
fun.
make them.
They were Buckeyes. I'm not going to complain.
Since you don't make them,
Yeah.
but you eat them.
Patty
I make them and
said-
I don't eat them.
Here at the nursery I buy apples from, they spray them with a clay surrey, no
Yeah.
wax coating, which is so nice.
Yeah.
That is good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the little things like that where you just start
That's
really
one thing
noticing.
we've really been wanting to do for a while and haven't gotten around to is putting in some fruit trees.
I had a fruit last year, but it was in the chicken
Yeah.
pen and they ate all of it.
But the nice thing is with that, the reason she puts that in there is it feeds them.
It does feed
It
them.
gives them something when it drops
Yeah,
fruit.
it does feed them.
So
I've never had a tree fruit in the first year. I think it's because it's
Yeah.
it's in the chicken pen. It's getting all the nitrates at once. But I do have it like heavily mulched so that their nitrates aren't like on top of it burning it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Emma said cold brew is so easy to make at home too. It really is.
is.
I thought it would be
yeah,
something like
it is.
harder to do, so I was always apprehensive about doing it. But yeah, it's just basically putting in coarse grounds so that
Yeah,
otherwise, like when I first did it, I used regular coffee grounds, which are pretty fine, and it was more like cowboy
Mhm.
coffee because there was more grounds. My sister was making fun of me. I could care less. I just like, oh, it still tastes good. I had some creamer in it.
put some more hair on his chest.
Yeah. Now Ashley had bought a coffee grinder for another purpose. Someone I can't remember what you were making.
when I finally pull the trigger on making soap.
There you go.
Finally.
But I used it for coffee beans and coarse
What?
grind them. It works a lot better. Emma said, yes, they made beef stew tonight in the Instapot, local raised grass-fed beef and carrots from a local farm. So good. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Instapots are awesome for quick
Yeah.
meals.
I don't know why I waited so long to
Yeah.
get one.
And honestly, I feel like we're just like breaking the edge of what like it can do with a lot of different
Well,
meals.
there's a yogurt setting on there, so I'm like, I'm going to make goat milk yogurt in the Instapot.
Yeah.
That is going to happen this year. So if I can
Crazy
make sure I
life.
remember.
Said I should have vlogged this whole adventure with the hospital, homestead, care for horses, 9 to 5, finding a new place to live. I just had too much on my plate to even put on a vlog. Yeah. That's where Ashley
Yeah.
sort of is with this
Yeah.
good stuff and the birth thing right now. But with all that on your plate, I could totally
Yeah.
understand. That's a
But,
lot.
I mean, really, because like, I hate to say it, but everything, like the vlogging is secondary. Like you can definitely still film while you're going through it. It's just, if you're like me, it drives me nuts when I know that the things that I'm sharing are like weeks in the
Mhm.
past, because then people that actually follow like my Facebook, like they're like, they can tell like how far behind I am on my videos.
Yeah.
Because like I share on my Facebook very regularly on
Yeah,
the farm page.
More
So
current events.
yeah, if you guys ever like what's really going on there, that's where you find out what's
Do you know
really
Josh
going
was
on.
looking for Muscovies?
Yeah, he messaged me last week
Oh,
because he
that's
was
right, you
talking
were
about
mentioning-
chocolate
yeah.
Muscovies. He's like, "What do you think of Muscovies?" I'm like, "Buy them. You will
Yeah.
never want another duck in
Yeah,
your
they're
life."
different. Like
Yeah.
I said, we raised ducks when I was younger and wasn't a huge fan of them. They're just
Mhm.
made a money mess. We're so loud. Muscovies are a lot different.
They're really good. I really like them. A
Joe
lot.
Mama's here
Hello,
tonight.
Joe Mama. How are you?
She would have probably chimed in when we were talking about canning.
Yeah, we're
earlier,
talking about
since
the
she's a big
importance of
proponent for
canning and preservatives. I do have my canner lined up. I'm going to go with that Presto 1U because it looks like my stovetop will handle that.
Yep. Patty said, I hate grocery store chicken. Flavor is not the same as homegrown, and that slime is so awful.
It really is terrible. You know, like it really is terrible. Well, it's kind of funny because like I was watching
Joe Mama said we got bad news. They keep us in prayer. So
okay,
we'll be sure to say extra prayers for you tonight.
If we put in a prayer request for you at our church too? I always want to ask permission before I do that. Some people don't like that.
We do like to turn in prayer requests.
But just so that people know, like if you guys, and I know some people, if you don't, that's fine. But if you ever do want prayer or want us to put in prayer requests, like we believe in it. So you shoot us a direct message, shoot us an email. You don't have to tell us what's going on. You can just tell us.
I think I mentioned before,
prayer.
my parents are pastors of a church that they started, and we're definitely involved with several people and prayer chains that we love to, put requests out on because we believe in it. So.
Yeah.
Fairview said, I have a mulberry tree next to the goat pasture. The goats and chickens are always snacking. Yep.
The ducks ate a lot of mulberries.
So when we had the big tree fall in the buck pen, it actually clipped a mulberry tree and took down a big branch. And the goats had runs for days because they ate so many berries and the silky leaves.
So many leaves. I was like, guys, please. Because then I'm like, are you wormy or is it just the tree? I knew it was the tree, but then I'm always like, is there an underlying issue here that the tree is masking? So
Emma said, somebody has not sent her cutlings yet.
Oh, I am so awful.
Yeah.
Emma, you gotta just get on me.
Yeah.
I have them picked out. I actually have them marked.
Lately, understandably. So.
It's been.
She keeps beating herself up over forgetting things. I'm like, you got a lot going on. Just
but I should remember.
Stay steady. So one cool thing about mulberry trees, though, I remember doing the research when we first moved here because I didn't know much about them. Is they're silkworm, silkworms are dependent on their leaves. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. Like for silkworm farms, they'll have mulberry trees because that's the only thing they eat. Crazy Life said Mrs. Max said the yogurt setting does not do a good job.
Oh no, really?
That's funny.
I can figure out a different way to do it. I mean, but I'm one of those people. I've got to try it for myself and fall flat on my face before I accept it. Ask him. He tells me all the time what the outcome is going to be in a situation. I'm like, not for me. It won't be. Go through it. I'm like, you were right.
Joe Mama said, I'm glad you're taking the plunge and absolutely put in a prayer request. Scott's cancer is back and we are out of options. We're sorry to hear that, and we'll definitely keep them in our prayers and 100%. You as well, because I know that's a lot of strain just not on him, but you as well. So we'll be praying for you both.
Yeah.
Emma said Morgan talked about how his videos are delayed compared to his TikTok. People bug him about it, but he doesn't worry about it.
Okay. It always worries me because I'm like, people that fall on different platforms, which I try to keep things different from platform to platform. Like Instagram is different. It feeds into my personal Facebook. So if you follow me like on all the, you do get one that kind of duplicates like a post.
Yeah.
But like Instagram is different from my farm Facebook page, from YouTube, from Newsbreak is just, it mirrors my YouTube. YouTube schedule for the most part.
Margie said, please put my partner on your prayer list. Doctors say it's days, not months. His cancer spread.
It's so awful to hear. I am so sorry,
I know
guys.
Ashley's been turning in regularly across the church. For him and you.
Yeah.
So.
And Joe Mama, you've been, I know, like I say, I like to have your permission, but there are times where I'm like, I know people that need it. So I might not bring you in name, but God knows the name. I don't, our congregation doesn't need to know the name for things
our
to work.
Nightly prayers. We definitely pray you over.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to talk about. So also one crazy little thing we had last week while we were off of work was Jim just keeps pushing my hand off of you. She says, hey, pet me instead.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I was out one night with the nightscope just looking around because we had some coyote issues as Ashley's talked about and stuff. And I was scanning the field, and so June was like behind us.
She was with me closing up the ducks
near the front of our property, and she started letting out like this real deep
never
low bark.
Heard that type of bark.
It was
ever
strange.
out
So
of
that
her.
was like alarming. And then Django started barking in the backfield of our property. So I was like, okay, something's going on, So I'm looking around. I find him because I can hear where he's barking. I see him, and then I see a coyote head pop up out of the tall grass just over like a little bit of a hump, and he's barking at that coyote, because something's there, and he was raising an alarm. Well, I was like, okay, not a big deal. So I start walking towards him a bit. June doesn't like this story, I guess. But then as I'm watching him and sort of walking towards him a little bit and stuff, I move over a bit and I notice that there's another coyote that is sneaking up behind Django, our small dog, and basically getting ready to pounce on him from behind. So, of course, I start yelling his name to alert of him and those coyotes, like, hey, someone's coming and stuff like that.
And I can hear him freaking out from the duck pen. So
I don't want our little dog to get eaten. Of course, coyotes will snack on small dogs.
because he just started. He's like, Django.
And thank goodness our bigger dog, June, also noticed what was going on and went back. But
she's okay.
Yeah, that was definitely a long night as well. So we've had just a little bit of craziness going on.
Well, then because like he started screaming for him. So between that and the dog howling, and I started screaming Django because I'm like, I knew because he said 2 coyotes. I'm like, okay, this is how they get This is how they get pet dogs. Is they've got one that acts as a decoy while the others are ambushing.
Yeah.
So, and then when we got back there, Django was gone.
Yeah.
Like, and Mark's like, I think they got him. And we were out there screaming and
worried about it,
hollering and carrying on. And then the stupid dog comes up and won't come to me, and I'm like. I chased him down in the cornfield and picked him up and carried him, but he was fine. It was just like he went quiet.
Yeah.
I was like, don't go quiet. All you've been doing is barking. I figured like for sure so they jumped on and snapped his back. But we saw the coyote again this morning.
Yeah.
We went to go take Joe to school.
Huge problem out here is we talked to our neighbors when we first moved out here, and she lived across the street for years. And a large problem with the coyote population around here is there's quite a few that are mixed with domestic dogs, coy dogs, of course, which they're called, and they lose a lot of that fear of people and even other dogs. Like dogs will bark at them and they'll just sort of stay outside their range, or if there's a fence, they'll stand right on the other side of the fence while that dog barks at them and basically like, hey, what are you going to do about it? So it's definitely trying to.
It's an issue. And this morning when we went to go take Joe to school, because I take a break from work and school's like 5 minutes away, and we were walking to the car and we both looked at the donkeys, and both the donkeys are just zeroed in. And Mark's like, that's weird, because I was already walking up to the fence because I'm like, they're zeroed in on something, and went and looked and I couldn't see anything, and then it moved. It was perfectly camouflaged in, and it moved. So I went inside and got. A boomstick just in case, because he was looking for a way to get into the field. I hadn't let the goats out yet in the morning because I've been I try to mix up the times that I'm letting these guys out, and I've got young kids out on my field now, so it just freaked me out real bad. I know they're only doing what they're meant to do, but no, I put too much money into my livestock to let an animal just predate.
Tiring and trying, you want to get rid of the problem. You just wish it'd move on, but obviously
it was awful because then Mark was like, I don't see it. And I'm like, I can see it. And I'm like, just go take her to school. And like, I walked back that line. It had no idea I was there. I was downwind and I had on quiet shoes, thank God. But I knew that it does cross over in our field. So I was waiting for it to cross in the open field. And of course it never crossed the open field. Usually it'll walk this clearing and then go across the field down in a swale. And I could see the swale and it never popped out of there.
The problem we have too is there are certain directions
we cannot shoot
because of houses. We have to be
We're very limited. And the coyotes seem like they know the directions where they can stand safely where we can't shoot at them.
Yep. Which...
kudos to them. They're super smart. There's a reason they made it that long in their lifetime to where they are cunning enough to do what they're doing. And but everybody's been locked up every night. I have to go check here in a little bit because I did have a doe that didn't want to take her kids in today. So I know where she's setting with them, but I'm like, you can't
Crazy
stay there
Life
tonight.
had a question about good conversations. How do you calculate pound to quart to gallon, and is this in goat's milk?
And so I usually have like the big ball jars that are like their cups. So I'll fill up the ball jar from each doe to see like how many cups, and then I can do my conversion easier to like quarts and gallons. Because poundage, I'm sure there's probably a way, and I've thought about that. I need to look it up because when I do weights on the milk for milk testing, I have wondered, I'm like, how many quarts is this or how many cups is this? So I know like easily the one doe is giving me 4 or 5 cups every milking, which is pretty good.
We got Bomber Steve here tonight.
Hi,
Hello, Bomber Steve.
What's up?
How's the snake business going? Keeping you busy?
Yeah, because you guys are in opposite seasons. So are you guys winding down from your grow season?
True.
Are you guys going into your fall since we're in our kind of like in our spring here.
I'm always
Hello, Mama
interested.
Burton.
I'm always interested in the snakes.
I
since
know.
he handles them. I don't have the guts to handle snakes, but I appreciate that he does.
Bye, Haas.
Joe was asking me at dinner tonight. She's like, "What are you really afraid of?" I'm like, "I don't like snakes, that's for sure. I don't mind looking at them. I just don't want to touch them." But Emma said that happened to us with our small dog. Our big dog Sammy saw it and ran the coyotes off. Our third dog ran to the back door and barked to alert us. They saved her life.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, they'll definitely prey on small dogs.
Yeah.
Like they're,
It was just crazy though. June all the way here, because there's a good distance between where she was with me and where he was. And I'm no joke. Like I've never heard that sound come out of her, but it was one of those where I'm like, something is severely wrong because of the
when we
noise she
first
just made.
moved here, we had a coyote, and it came up on towards our back door when we first moved in. I mean, it was probably
It had
within the
my
first-
older dog cornered,
Yeah.
and I came out and was waving and doing the whole like
But she
I'm
was a-
bigger than you.
She
and
wasn't a small dog.
No,
she was,
she
probably
was
40,
a medium-sized dog.
Yeah, but this dog, no lie,
It
looked
was
like a
not
German
scared
Shepherd.
of me.
Yeah,
Like it was still
it
coming
was
towards
definitely
us.
mixed with
Yeah.
something much bigger than a coyote.
And then we had one
This
come
is-
in from the field before the goats were here. Joe was out playing with Elmo, and I looked in the field and there was a coyote just beelining for him. And I got out there, hey,
Yeah,
because
so
that one
that's
responded.
frustrating.
The one in the backyard, and that one ended up killing 12 chickens that I'd let out in the morning. They time you so well. They know your routines better than you know theirs.
Coyotes are
Yeah.
very thrifty.
Yeah,
But the lady across the street would say, like, if you had a dog in heat, you basically had to lock it up
yeah.
because coyotes would come in constantly to try to breed with a dog
Yeah.
in heat, or vice versa. So,
That's
yeah,
what it is. Yeah, we weren't really too worried until we saw two one day. Did we tell them about that? It was no, because it was last week while we were off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 11:30 in the morning, two of them in the backfield, just like walking up towards the fence. I'm like,
Yep.
I'm gonna have to get a livestock guardian dog.
Yep.
I really feel like I'm gonna have to get a livestock
Patty
guardian dog.
said, I haven't heard of any coy dogs here yet, but I know in areas of Oregon where there are
I've
coy
heard of
wolves
coy wolves.
with growing numbers.
It's when they start making these hybridized species where they're very unpredictable.
Yeah.
You know, because
God, that coy wolf, that'd be even bigger. I couldn't imagine.
bigger
Wolves are
and
just
more-
giant dogs.
Well,
in
like I
general.
have a lot of respect for coyotes. Like number one survivalist species probably in the entire
Yeah.
United States. Like they just are survivalists.
Mhm. Emma said our doxy had bites on her rump, so we had to have her checked by the vet the next day. Could have been bad.
It's so
Yeah,
sad.
I mean,
Gown is 8 poundish. Well, that's cool. That's nice to know.
that's a bad thing too. Like even sometimes you have a bigger dog, some of them get in large packs.
Yeah.
And we even had our vet tell us when we had llamas for a little bit, there was a llama he had to go stitch up where 3 or 4 coyotes went after it. And fortunately the llama was able to fight them off and actually killed the
Yeah.
coyotes, but it was torn up pretty good in the act.
Yeah.
He said he made it, the llama made it through, but
Had to
like
stitch
it had
up his
the
ear.
ear was pretty much ripped
They
off.
killed 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they'll, especially when they get in a pack, they become even more fearless.
Mhm.
So
I usually hear everyone who milks talks liquid size instead of weight, and they usually
Yeah.
do. This is milk testing, so
it's specific to weight.
I'm part of the American Dairy Goat Association's Plus program, which is performance, which means like every month I'm taking milk samples and their sheets, like the barn sheets that I have to fill out to
Yeah.
send for testing. I have to tell them a weight. I cannot give them like liquid weight. I have to give them a weight, like
Crazy Life
poundage.
said storms are here off like a dirty shirt.
Oh,
See, gang. Ooh, yeah, be safe. We'll keep you in our
Bye.
prayers along with your husband's
yeah.
recovery.
I'm actually
So,
probably going to sign off because I
Yeah,
need to
we
put
gotta
up
wrap
goats.
things
I
up.
need to we need to take out garbage. I've got goats that I'm sure will
Baby
kid tonight.
watch,
So
But yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome talking to all you guys.
yeah, we really
'cause
missed you
we
guys
missed
last
you.
week.
Wanted to make
We
sure
really did.
we got on tonight and talked to everyone.
Mhm.
Plus, we had all these exciting stories to tell you, so we wanted to share with
Yeah,
everyone.
if there's been a lot going on, there's a lot getting ready to happen. So
But like we said, we'll also keep everyone in our prayer requests. Margie, you and your partner,
Joe Mama,
Joe Mama
yeah.
and her husband.
Mhm.
It's crazy life. Just we'll be sure to
Yeah.
keep you all in our prayers. And
Yeah,
if anybody needs prayer, feel free to reach out to us.
yeah,
For sure.
100%.
But everyone, have a good night.
Yeah, we hope that you guys are all staying safe out there and being kind to one another, and we will catch you on the next one.
Yep. God bless.